So we have formats in here. So what you're saying is that this is probably showing up somewhere else?
Yeah, when the file select.
Oh, here.
Yeah, so we shouldn't. I always hate when I see things listed twice,
All right.
and it looks like
Yes.
they're not even the same, which is part of this is exactly why. Right?
Exactly. So you're missing something or something is wrong here.
No.
All right. So these formats up here are formats that we're gonna be able to work with, right? So we're using that and using it in a drop-down list down here. So these are the ones that I'm gonna allow you to choose from this drop-down list. But at the same time, there's a different section of my script that chooses or allows you to select an image to convert. So to Joe's point, well, if I'm allowing you on the Dropbox to use these formats, well, here in the images files here, I should allow you to select those exact ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the same thing. So we're going to dynamically create them. I already have the list here, so why should I write it down again down here? And all that creates the problem that if I add a new file format, now I have to change it in two places. And right now, Joe, you're pointing out exactly the obvious. This list and this list are different. You see, so somewhere along the lines we added VMP. We have it here, but we added AVIF, and it is not in this list. That's what we're trying to solve for. Now, this one is a string, all right, and this is a separated by semicolons here. Well, this one above is an array. What I'm going to do is I'm going to loop through the array and generate the string and then place it in this spot here. So let's grab this guy. Let's put it in a variable. So formats, image formats, right? This is what I'm going to end up with. And this, I'm going to put it here. Now, this section right here is what I'm building. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a placeholder there because that's going to change. That's my placeholder. And the way how I'm going to create that placeholder is by looping through the formats above. So I'm going to say, let's have a temporary variable here, formats. It's going to start off empty. And then for format in formats, I want to append to this guy. And what I wanted to append was the asterisk, the period, the format that I have, and a semicolon. That's how I'm doing it, right? And a space, so that they're not all placed together. And as I do that, at the end, I am going to end up with one additional one at the end, an additional semicolon at the end. Let's just look at it for now and let's see how that looks before we move on. So I'm just going to stop here because I want to see this. Allow me just 1 minute. Sorry.
No, but it's always good to baby step through this. Like I know Isaiah as well. He could write this without, taking a preview of it to see how it looks. But I always encourage you to work more in baby steps and confirm what you think you just did, right, as you go. Because when generating strings, especially with quotes and other things, it gets easy to mess something up. But yeah, so often we have the same list of things just in slightly different ways, and we don't think to programmatically handle them. So the second I saw this, I'm like, yeah, that drives me nuts. But I don't know about you guys, when I'll get images from AI and or in other places too, and often there's this what's it called? WebP, I think. Yeah, WebP. And I'm like, a lot of the tools that I use can't handle those.
Yeah.
So this script started off saying, "Hey, can I use FFmpeg to convert a WebP to a PNG?" And AI said yes. And then I said, "Wait a minute, why don't I
Let's do it.
take other files too, right? Like,
All right. All right. So here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop when we're selecting a file, and we're going to look at this loop in particular before we move on to the next steps. All right. So I'm going to run this. I want this to click on the select file. So here we go. We start, and let's look at the FMTS variable here is empty. When I click on it, it's now completely empty. There's nothing.
Is this sorry? A lot of people don't realize in VS Code, you just added that watch. Explain that real quickly, because it
Yeah. So especially when you have a lot of variables,
yeah.
this part up here keeps track of a lot of variables and you can look at them. But if you have, 50 variables, that list is going to be too long. Well, for example, the global variables, look at that. You will have to scroll like that and try to find the one that you want. So instead of having to scroll or find, you can just, here in the section called watch, you can add the name of a variable. And it will, for example, if I add a index here, it will keep track of that variable as you loop or as you move through your code. So right now, as I'm interested in how formats change as I'm doing this, because I'm going to be appending something, I just put it there to look at it as I go, right? So I step into the loop. Notice how a index is now 1. And that is because, again, as we mentioned before, this is an array that we created above, and it is a global variable, so I can access it inside my functions. That's good. Now, for each of the things, I'm going to look at each of them. I'm going to append the asterisk period, the name of the format, a semicolon and a space, and I'm going to append that to the formats variable. So there I have the first one. Now we add the other one, and we keep doing this until we finish off with a very nice list. So when I look at formats right now, I should have the full list. That's how I created the list that was actually written in there. So now that I know that I have it, I can, this is one of the parts that Joe says, yeah, you love the format command. Well, the reason why I love it is because I can stick that list within the parentheses without me having to open the quotes. You can do this. You can open the quotes, put your formats variable in there, and that's it. That's the way how we have been doing it, and it's easy. In some situations, that might be tricky, especially when you open the quotes and there are other quotes and you have to keep track of that. That's where a format command is great, because you just put a placeholder. I say, I want to stick something in there, wherever those parentheses are. And then the format command, you just tell it, okay, that's the string where I want to stick something in there. Now, the first parameter is whatever I want to put in that spot. Would be the formats right there. That would give me the string that I want, and I will look at it before placing it here. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to select file, and that should look exactly as it was before, which is the image files, open parentheses, all the values, and the close parentheses at the end, right? And now I'm just going to put it there, and the file select will know what to do with that, which is going to allow me just to select those types of files and filter them out. And if I don't have a file like that, I will not be able to see the files in this folder. That's what it does. And now the interesting thing is, as Joe correctly pointed out, hey, what happens if I now add something into this list? AHK now. So now I'm allowing AHK files, whatever the file is, right? And when I do that again, notice how, where is the, here, notice how the AHK files are being shown now. They weren't being shown before, but now I add them into my filter list and now they're showing. So it makes it very simple for me now to add or remove different file formats.
Is it still running?
Not yet, but here.
Well, the point is, I was going to say, you didn't show it's also in the drop-down list, right? Just to.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's true. Now I have to fix this, because if you don't select something, you should not continue. That's what's going on in here. So if you don't have a selected file, it should not continue. This is doing the opposite. It's saying, when you have a selected file, do this, but it's not stopping anything else. And I think that's, hold on. Oh no, I'm going to tell you, this is a very, you said that this was created by AI, right?
As far as I recall, I don't.
Right. So this is a very weird situation. When you use the M uh, option for file select, you allow multiple files. And when you do that, file select returns an array. Now, even if the array is empty, it will be true because it is an object. So if you have an object, it is true. So what we have to check in here is not whether this is true, it's whether this has a length. But this length right here is because of that M. If you don't have that M, then the statement was correct. So let's stop right here. And you will see now, if I say cancel now, this has an object, which is the reason why it shows us true. But that object right now does not have a length, it's 0. So in that case, I will now skip the whole thing and do nothing, right? So that's what was happening. I would personally just do the opposite there. I would just say, hey, I would just put the code here and then say return and say, if we don't have a length, we stop. It's kind of like very clear that I want to stop right there. I don't want to do anything because this doesn't have a length. This is one way of doing it. So in any case, let's show what you said, Joe, which is here. Well, let me add it. I didn't add it here. I have AHK, and now it is present here too. It is in my list, and it is also now allowed for me to choose the AHK file. And now when I say, you know what, that's not what I want to kind of like not have AHK selected here. Now it is not on my list, and it is also not filtered on, which is great for us because it keeps our code always, you know, synced in those two spots. Just because I am dynamically loading whatever is supposed to be here based on something that I have above. So this is a very simple method. That's the reason why we like objects. Objects allow us to have the data stored in the way that makes more sense to us. And later on, if I need to switch that data into a different format, it is very easy for me to just loop through it. I just loop through the object, and now I can convert the data into whatever I wanted, in this case being just a string. You see that, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Does anybody has any questions on that or anything that you want to comment on that? This is Steven. Steven says the baby steps are appreciated. Yeah. That's the part, like I have done this part so much that I can do it without even stopping on it, and I know that it's gonna work. But yeah, when I'm trying to explain this stuff, I want to kind of like stop and loop through it so that you can visibly see what's going on. It makes a little bit more sense, right?